Hey everyone, Guy.
You sure you got this?
Yes, you just got done doing a video not that long ago, so go take a break.
Alright, man, if you're sure. I'm gonna go get me some vanilla wafers.
I know typically my partner covers gaming content, but this is something I really had to cover on a personal level. Not just because I'm talking about social culture rather than historical culture, but because, like many other people, Pokemon has been something that's been a part of my life ever since I was a kid. I still actually remember when Pokemon first came out, like the literal day. Living in Topeka, Kansas didn't have much in the way of perks, but due to its unique name, it was actually chosen as the debut city for Pokemon to release in the US. No, seriously, the mayor changed the name from Topeka to PIKACHU. Bear in mind this was 1998, so the ease of smartphone pictures weren't available to me. But at 14 years old, I remember the event pretty well. There were tons of booths that had the game for public play, events that gave rewards ranging from stickers to full plushes of the starters. Man, I remember there was this one kid walking out with a Charizard plush and all I could think was, oh, I want that. But the big event was airdropping dozens of Pikachu plushes. I wasn't able to nab one, but hey, being able to skip a day of school to welcome the soon-to-be most recognizable children's game in the world was amazing all its own. I just remember growing up using that gray brick and a physical cable to trade and fight my friends in the neighborhood. It was something that really physically brought us all together on a pretty massive scale. I still remember all the kids who had their Game Boys confiscated at school too. It was just that big a deal for us. But as Pokemon has gone on in years, much like every other aspect of gaming, it's become completely net-based. Granted, that's not to say there aren't communities of people forming physical bodies to share their experiences with the game, but now more than ever, we live behind screens, and with it comes additional complications. And now we get to Pokemon Go, what was supposed to be the culmination of everything we could have ever dreamed about when it came to this franchise. I mean, good lord, do you guys remember that announcement video? I know the 28 million people that saw it do. I mean, finally, Pokemon in the real world. For the first time, we were able to live one of our biggest childhood dreams. Who honestly wasn't hyped for that game after seeing that? Physically capturing, trading, there was even teasing of a massive event to attack and capture legendaries. It seemed like the entire world was ready to unify under the creed of gotta catch 'em all. But after the game finally dropped earlier this month, that really wasn't what we got, was it? No balls to throw, no trading, and for crying out loud, there wasn't even any battling. Not the same way that we were shown anyway. What we saw were people that just sporadically ran into each other and had fights, and it just looks so cool. I mean, sure, you can fight and train at the gyms, but it's nowhere near the complexity and strategy that the Pokemon we now know today offers. There's little else to do aside choosing the right type with the highest combat score, and you don't even get a pool of moves to choose from either. All you're doing is just tapping the screen as fast as you can, occasionally remembering that you can try to swipe left and right in order to dodge attacks, which rarely works by the way. And speaking of rarely working, like everyone else, I had my own share of problems making this sucker function. Oh, of course there's always the ever-present server issue screen, but I've seen a lot more bugs associated with this game. Such as the horrendous gym battle bug, where your enemy Pokemon's health could drop to 1, but never fully faint despite getting laid into. Lost far too many battles with that one. My other favorite is when the GPS craps out because you're under one too many trees or in the lobby of a building. But I think the absolute worst one is the game crashing right as you find a super rare Pokemon. I remember how ecstatic I was one day to find a Charmander out in the wild, only to have the game crash as soon as I threw that stupid ball. I was livid. And granted, that's only if you even have the game. I know some of you folks in the UK and Canada can't even get access to the game due to performance issues. In all honest-to-God reality, as it currently is, this Pokemon game should be the absolute worst of the bunch. It's buggy, broken, and still spitting out more errors than Windows Vista. But, despite all that, this is the best Pokemon game I've ever seen in my life. No, not because of the fact you can capture Pokemon in real-life locations, and certainly not because of the quality of the game. I believe this is the best Pokemon ever conceived because of what it's established on a scale to which no game has ever created. Community. And I don't mean social media platforms or net forums either, I mean real, honest-to-God, human community. Aki and I spent a better part of last Sunday just walking around our neighborhood looking for Pokemon. We had no ulterior motives, we just wanted to do some simple recording for a gameplay channel. But what happened that day was nothing short of absolute magic. Never in my life since 1998 when Pokemon first came overseas have I ever seen a game truly, physically, bring people together like Pokemon Go has. When Aki and I were out capturing footage, I had no idea to the level of which the game has gotten people out of their homes and talking to each other. The first time we ran into other trainers was not but a quarter of a mile away from our home. At the side of a historic cabin, which also apparently doubles as a gym, we ran into a couple who I assume were out there to train. I just rode off as a passing coincidence and the wife and I kept trekking. We noticed about 15 minutes later though, someone had dropped a Pokestop lure not too far from our location. I thought to myself, oh yeah, it's just gonna be one guy sitting around waiting for something to happen. But nope. It was actually a couple of guys from the other side of the complex who wanted to chill out together and hope for a big catch. At this point I thought to myself, we should look into this more. So Aki and I grabbed our external chargers and headed to a park not far from where we lived. Not only did the park house like 5 Pokestops within walking distance, but as time went on, we kept finding more and more groups of people with their phones looking for Pokemon. Within less than an hour, we saw car after car pull up, people pulling out their phones and dropping lures at a bunch of the locations. But what was truly the most amazing thing I witnessed that day was meeting people and having some of the best conversations I've had in a long time, with complete strangers by the way, by simply shouting, "Hey, what have you caught so far?" You know what's interesting? The stereotypes I hear about gamers these days is that they never get out of the house away from their systems and computers, and they never talk face to face as they lack social skills. Well, you know what, haters? I bore witness to both on that day. People as young as 16 and as old as 40 walking around a lot, talking, relaxing, and communing with each other. Complete strangers who have been accused of being social shut-ins coming outside in droves, meeting and befriending total strangers, all because of this half-functioning game. I wasn't alone either. When I got back home, cooled down, and began to unwind online, I began seeing more and more people tweeting and sharing their similar experiences of just droves of complete strangers talking and communing and sharing their experiences all day, all night. I've never seen anything like this. And that is the real magic of Pokemon, ladies and gentlemen. It's not about being the best like no one ever was, it's not about catching them all, and it's not even about the hours of EV training. It's about people. This franchise has done something I have never in my 31 years of existence seen before. Bringing gamers, complete strangers of all nationalities, races, genders, creeds, and identifications together with a simple interest in a simple game. This mobile game, in its most broken, dysfunctional, and frustrating build, has brought complete strangers together in the real world more than any polished AAA game in existence ever has. We haven't gotten the experience we were promised. We weren't given the ability to physically throw digital balls, fight and trade with our friends, or have the big legendary events that the Pokemon Go trailer showed us. But nonetheless, it gave us something else, something more important: community. When I think about all the people in that commercial, whether they were strangers or friends, coming together to fight, trade, and catch wild Pokemon in such a huge crowd, all I could think of was, my God, it's already happening. Just think of how much more connected as a living, breathing, physical community we will become when they finally perfect this game. Thanks for watching, everyone.